crashing in with a unsanctioned, unannounced Garden report, middle of the day. It's going to be a short one, but we figured it's easier to just come on and process things in real time, and then kind of go from there as we figure out what's going on with these rumors that seem a lot like more than just rumors, Bobby. This seems very real. This seems late stages real. That would land the Celtics Kristaps Porzingis, who can opt into a $36 million contract for this season, and then part of a 3-team deal where they would probably send Malcolm Brogdon out. The Clippers are involved. We don't know what else is involved. There has to be more, but the big pieces are kind of out there. This is, of course, from Shams, from Stadium and The Athletic, and it's out there, and it sounds like it's well in the works here. So again,
Shams writes there's a high possibility, according to league sources, that it'll happen.
Yeah. So we are in the high possibility range of something happening here, involving the Celtics and Kristaps Porzingis. So what you need to know is Kristaps might be coming. What goes out is going to kind of determine whether or not you like this deal, Bobby. I understand the Brogdon piece for a couple of reasons, and we'll get into it. If a lot of draft capital goes as well, and there's a lot of other different things here, things will get tricky. What is interesting is no one else is picking up on this report yet. This is a Shams and Shams only deal. So I know Woj has to be scrambling to try to put his signature on this as well. Right now, no one's coming.
Well, that's why Shams is doing the high possibility thing. He's just trying to get ahead there. But
lay my groundwork that I'm way on the way here. And look, why did he report it? Because I think he thinks it's about to happen. And so this is where we're at right now. So just your initial reaction, and again, so much could happen because again, we don't know everything that's going to necessarily be involved here. But here you go. So go for it.
I like it. I don't love it. It's a need. It's an upgrade. I said if you're trading Malcolm Brogdon, let it be an upgrade. Let it be salary toward an upgrade. And this is a better player than Malcolm Brogdon in a vacuum here. But unfortunately, this isn't happening in a vacuum. He is an expiring contract, $36 million here, who pushes you within an inch of that second apron, which I don't care about. But as far as filling out the rest of the roster here, it will be interesting to watch what happens. And then, is he a rental? Is he a long-term piece? I don't know. And of course, how does he fit in with the other bigs here? They obviously have 3 starting caliber centers if this happens. And you could go back to double big. That would probably move Derek White back to the bench. Or you could go single big. And all of a sudden, you're trying to figure out what you're doing with Horford and Rob both off the bench. So I'm not against something exciting happening, and this is very exciting. I saw someone in my mentions was comparing this to KG. This isn't quite KG, but this is probably the biggest Celtics trade since Kyrie, certainly.
Yeah, it's a big trade. I mean, this is a big piece.
I mean, this guy used to be someone everyone in the league wanted, and he played
the original
unicorn
in the year of Wemby. He's the original unicorn,
Yeah. And he played great last year. 23 points a game, 8 rebounds, a block and a half, shot 38% from 3. Let me go to on the court. Defensively, this is a no-brainer. This is the kind of guy who's going to return them to number 1 defense in the league. Brilliant drop defender, one of the best rim protectors in the league. Can get out on guys better than Horford could in that position, and moves Horford back to the 4 if they do go double big, which I like. It's just a slam dunk.
Moves Horford to the bench is where it moves him, okay? And it's fine. That's okay. We'll see. But anyway.
Depends on matchups. But offensively, it's tricky. I mean, this guy's usage last year, I have to imagine, was close to 30% or like way up there. This guy has the ball in his hands all the time. Not really the kind of guy to me that's standing in the corner and catch and shoot threes. He's facing up. He's creating his own shot a lot of the time. His usage came in at 27%. I mean, that is massive. That's like Brown and Tatum level. So this is the first time in his career he's going to be a third option. How's he going to adjust to that?
Well, the question is, The question is this with him. Look, is a player perfect? No. I mean, perfect players teams don't let them go. So obviously there's going to be some problems with him. Is he ideal for your kind of switchable sort of defense? No, he's not a great guy to get out in space. That's going to hurt you a little bit. Yeah, he's a good rim protector. He's good in drop. There's things he does well, things he doesn't. As far as his scoring and his shot profile, he's kind of a face-up guy. He's going to shoot threes. He's going to shoot that style. He's not necessarily an interior presence, but he's, again, more from a position of need. It allows you to do a lot of different things. It's floor spacing. The question is, and again, the nightmare length on this starting lineup defensively, is just out of this freaking world. When you put it out there, this would be a really difficult lineup.
I'm excited.
So that would make it interesting, for sure. The question is, was last year a course correction or fool's gold? It's easy to talk yourself into anything. And I'll tell you why I don't care. I think I don't know what Malcolm Brogdon or a guard gets you that's going to be great for you. Meaning, I think no matter what, one show ago, you were saying, geez, they're going to dump Brogdon for nothing.
That was my worry.
I think there's a limited amount of things and trade partners and dance partners that you can work with to get an impact player for one of these guys. So realistically, a lot of those guys are better for you than they would be in terms of a trade, because you do have to trade strength for strength and give it to another team that has a surplus at a particular position, or get a team who's looking to unload stuff, like obviously the Wizards are, involve a third team like they're doing here, and make it happen. So that's what they're looking to do here. With that, and it does make sense here, for all of these teams, because these are things that these are things that they're looking for. But I don't know if it's fool's gold on the Porzingis stuff. Let me get back to it. The reason I don't think it matters, Bobby, is I think there's two things at play here. One is the trade for a position of need, which this addresses for next year. Two, it's let's address our salary cap situation next year when the Jalen
trade a 2-year deal for a 1-year deal.
When the Jalen extension kicks in, and what you've effectively done is given yourself an option at this point, assuming you supermax Jalen. Now you've got an option to trade Jalen if you wanted to in a year. Not saying you would. You have an option to try to extend Porzingis if you wanted to, because now you've got him, and just be a heavy tax team if you want to do that. Or not, but you can let Porzingis walk, no longer have Brogdon's $20 million on the books, and just not be a second apron team when that Jalen extension kicks in, and play that little apron game, which might be what you're doing. You're just trading 2 years for 1 year and seeing if you're going to be better off next year, and then worry about 2 years from now in 2 years. That's what it feels like this is. The question is, how much better does it make you in that 1 year? I think potentially a lot. But I don't know. That's the thing, is what Porzingis are you getting?
Yeah, as I said in the chat, immediately it's a risk, and you do need to take risks to reach a new level, and this team clearly needed to reach a new level here. This is a guy, matchup-wise, that you feel good about battling the best teams in the East with, especially in combination with Horford and Rob. So that is my first question for you, John, is do they keep all 3 of those guys?
No, there's great options here. This is another reason why I like it. This does not feel like a complete offseason move.
Right.
This feels like a first domino move, And so now Grant all of a sudden becomes an intriguing sign and trade option where you might be able to go get something else of value that you might potentially need. Or maybe replenish stock, trade for a salary, trade for a 1-year guy as well, and take some draft capital. Who knows what you could get back in return? There's possibly some options here, or just go get something where you need, because now are you going to need all of these bigs? Absolutely not. Now you're going to start looking for wing depth, and you might be able to dangle someone like Grant out there to potentially get that. A Grant Pritchard package. All of a sudden, and again, you're not talking about a star, but you're talking about someone who can come in and fill some bench minutes behind your starters. There's options there. So I do feel like this would trigger another move.
Right.
And again, it's also going to put you in a position where you're not worried about money, like having to pay Grant whatever 15, 16 or whatever matching sort of salary you might have to in an offer sheet if you just work out your own deal with someone else and ship him out of here. And then again, if you did it for an expiring, you also have, now you don't have to pay Grant or Brogdon. And that's also something that they might be looking to do here. So, there's definitely eyes on the future from a salary perspective here. This also, to me, definitely kind of hammers home the Jalen Max coming, and they know that it's coming, and they're trying to clear the books a little bit and give themselves some breathing room in 2 years. I think that's my first read.
Definitely. And I do look at Porzingis as a rental here, which adds to the risk. He's eligible for up to 4 years, $180 million on an extension. Hard to see that happening now, even if it's down at 120 or something on the more manageable side below his current salary, because it's just too much money into the future. I'm not even sure you can feasibly keep him into the future unless some other stuff moves around here. Maybe. But for now, I think it's just a 1-year thing. And then, as you said, you assess from there after the fact. It makes sense from Porzingis' angle. I don't think there were any intriguing destinations for him in free agency this summer. He keeps the bird rights with the Celtics so they can negotiate something next summer. And he plays out a contract year, but that's tricky too. This is a risk on the court too to me, because this is a guy who's going to be playing for a contract. This is a guy who has butted heads with teammates in the past, I think, and just plays. I don't want to say
this is a guy with
selfishly,
some
but
with an ugly allegation again on a personal level to him
right.
as well.
As well. And in the locker room, I think he's going to be a guy who challenges teammates, goes after them, speaks his mind. Like, this is a very edgy personality here in this room. And I think that's part of the thinking too, John. Like, didn't you mention this last show, or actually Goodman mentioned it with me yesterday. And I don't want to conflate these two things, right? The allegations are very serious on that end, but just from like a temperamental standpoint, I am saying this isn't a nice guy who's going to be like smiling and saying jokes and stuff like that in the room. This is an intense personality here entered into the room. I don't know if that shakes things up in a bad way or in a good way. But I think that is definitely part of the thinking here too, is this is a different kind of personality than the people they've largely had in this room in recent years. I mean, he is not just going to stand there and fit in. He's going to be someone who makes his presence known in there. Of course, a huge guy, but also a big personality in there. So the allegations are terrible. That goes without saying there. And that's something he's obviously going to have to address coming in as well, as it just seems to kind of happen a lot of the time in these scenarios. So I don't know. I like it. I don't love it.
Okay. Well, here's the problem. I don't know. It's hard to know what you would love versus what else you could have done.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a risk, and everything's a risk if you're trying to improve. As you said, guys who aren't a risk aren't available. This is a guy who injury concerns, as you said, personality concerns, and style concerns as well on the offensive end. He can play the pick and pop. I'm sure that'll work itself out, but that usage is going to come way down. And is he able to make the most of less opportunity? I don't think that's something he's ever had to do between New York, Dallas, and certainly Washington last year.
What's going to be interesting is what else is thrown in here to round out the salary. Like, if it's Gallinari and something else, okay. If it's like something silly like Rob, all of a sudden things have gotten a little bit interesting here. So it's hard to fully buy. It's hard to like get all in on it yet.
I'm thinking, so I threw it on the trade machine. Celtics have to add about $7 million. So you could send Gallinari. He's right up to $7 million. The Clippers, if they want to throw in Amir Coffey, that cuts off the $1 million that they need to add there. And it'd basically be Gallinari, Coffey, and Morris going to the Wizards, Brogdon to the Clippers, which is interesting in its own right, but that's another story. And Porzingis going to the Celtics here. Celtics add about $7 million in salary on this. So, they're up to 172, 173. That line's 179, right? That second apron or so there. So, I guess Fisher has an update here. Let me check that out. He's hearing Gallinari will be included in the developing 3-team trade, with Gallinari heading to the Wizards.
Okay. So Gallinari to the Wizards. He gets bought out, comes back to Boston in January.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess if you have Rob Allen, Porzingis, you don't need that Grant Gallinari guy. You can bring back Muscala as an emergency.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, Grant's probably gone in a sign and trade, which I'm going to miss him. I will.
Again, we don't know yet. I'm saying it opens up the possibility. You don't make a deal just because you can. It has to be,
Well, they've been searching for those deals. Jared reported this morning that there's like 6 teams in play or something like that for a Grant sign and trade. I don't know. What are you targeting there? Maybe
wing
a depth
depth.
guard, wing.
Yeah.
Something like
if you can find wing depth, some sort of 3-and-D, something like that. I mean, that's what you ultimately need there. Just a straight shooter. I mean, again, I don't know if you're afraid to play Hauser. I don't know what you want, somebody who just comes in, shoots, and doesn't do anything else. So I assume some sort of kind of, wing
who I love is Chris Duarte.
Yeah.
Tim Hardaway in Dallas. I know Dallas is in the mix. You could do like a Gary Harris from Orlando if Orlando wants Grant, has been reported. But that's money coming in. Grant's 0 right now, right? So you're at 7-8 million below that second apron line. Are you going to go over it? In which case you can take something back real for Grant. If not, you're taking back a TPE or something like that. So I don't think you're getting a ton for Grant unless you're adding picks to that deal. And you might be adding picks to this Porzingis deal. Like, if you had a guess, how much, 1 first maybe going out the door here?
I don't know. That's the thing is, like, if this thing's about to happen today, you can't really trade a first until after the draft.
Unless it's in the distant future.
So I don't believe so. I believe, I think like second round picks seem to be the currency of today's,
Celtics don't really have them.
And Celtics don't really have those either. So they have a second this year. Is that something you move? It's a pretty good one.
We'd have to cancel our draft show tomorrow.
Well, we're still doing that because of the it's not so much that the draft show, it's on Thursday, right?
Tomorrow.
That is tomorrow. The draft show is more because, and you're right though. You only have to wait one more day before you can trade that pick. Trade that pick, right? Once you get through the draft, you can trade next year's pick.
Might technically be July 1st, but yeah, somewhere over the next week or two here.
Whatever that is, yeah. So I mean, this deal could be done up until that. The reason I think we're still doing the draft show is who knows what happens at the top of that draft with teams messing around with that second and third pick. I know the Celtics at this point moving into doing anything dramatic seems like it's not happening, but this is pretty dramatic right here. So I think, this is, as you said, a big move. If it happens, it's a big deal. I think it's fair to, I think the concerns are legit. I think, chemistry concerns, injury concerns, all of those things are real. So what can you do? We'll tell you guys real quick also about FanDuel. You want to check that out if you haven't already. Baseball season in full swing. Fine. Yeah. No basketball, no hockey going on right now, but baseball is cooking. You can jump in here at FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/Boston. Take advantage of no sweat first bet up to 1,000 when you visit FanDuel.com/Boston. Definitely go check that out. There's a lot of other promotions and offers that you can get in on as well. And in addition to baseball and obviously everything else you could think of, racing, golf, all sorts of things, a bunch of fun and interesting props, for the upcoming season and the upcoming NFL season where we know things are going to really get rolling there. So again, FanDuel.com/Boston, check it out and sign up today. Back to this trade here. Again, I do wonder how imminent is imminent, but it really does feel like it's coming down the pike. Gallinari, as you just mentioned, potentially a part of it. This opens up the possibility that a lot of other things are going to happen. In addition to that, the draft compensation, again, is the question. So we'll see what happens there and who is, in fact, sending it. Let's just do the math on it. Right now, the team sending the least in terms of player capital are the Clippers. Right now, they're trading nothing. They're trading nothing that they. that they necessarily want.
The Clippers also have the least future draft capital, of course. They've pretty much traded all their future firsts for Paul George. So they do have a first rounder this year from Milwaukee. They have a first rounder in 2027, 28, 29. So similar to the Celtics, the distant future would probably have to be right now if they were sending something. And the short term, it's just 3 seconds between the next two drafts. And like I said, that first round pick this year from Milwaukee, which I believe was for, I don't know, I can't remember. But yeah, Clippers have some stuff they could send, and you're right, they are sending out the least here in terms of players. Marcus Morris's expiring contract.
Yeah, that's what you're sending out, but they're sending out the least. So you'd imagine draft capital should come from their direction because the Celtics are sending out something that has value. This is a player who played extremely well and last year took a first-round pick to acquire. So if a first-round pick is on the move, you have to feel that that's potentially coming from the Clippers and not the Celtics. I can't see the Celtics throwing in a pick here. They're
Right.
taking, because look at it this way, they're the ones taking on the biggest salary. So they're taking a hit as it is. They're sending out a quality player. I can't imagine the Celtics are going to get dinged with considerable draft capital here. I
Yeah,
think if it's just Brogdon and Gallinari, I think you like this. I think I like this deal.
especially since the Wizards couldn't even get a pick for Beal. They're not getting one for Porzingis.
Well, they got swaps, right?
Yeah. Man, this adds to, if you're a Wizards fan, what are we doing? There's just nothing enticing happening.
Well, that's
for
the
this
worst
team.
thing about it is like you've got two all-star caliber players and you're burning it down for, I mean,
Nothing.
scraps right now. Literally just a clean sheet, clean ledger, and that's it.
Yeah, it's brutal. I saw they're selling like $100,000 suites or something too, courtside. They're not selling any of those to watch
Yeah.
Gallinari and Morris next year.
Yeah.
So this is exciting stuff. I get why the chat's excited. I get why the
I
Celtics
get
are
why
doing it.
1,000 people popped in here in the middle of the friggin' day unannounced. So we thank you guys for jumping on here. It's a polarizing player here. I get it, but like, I mean,
I bet
let's
it's
go
one of
this
those
way.
guys.
Let's dare to dream. What's the offseason about, Bobby? It's about screaming bloody murder, about burning it all to the ground because you're pissed off about how last year went. And it's also overreacting to everything that you do and why it could potentially be awesome. Let's talk about why this could potentially be awesome. Because I think it could potentially be great.
The guy's a killer shooter. I mean, he shoots 40% out there from three. You have a couple centers who can do that now between him and Horford. You can play with size of two shooters who can do the double big thing that gets me so excited while also hitting threes on both sides. So there's still going to be a ton of spacing for Brown and Tatum. You're going to have a great rebounder in there, and you're going to have great defense. You're going to basically be that team that's in play for number one offense and number one defense next year. So I don't know how the big thing's going to shake out because I do think you want to keep starting White, as you said earlier, John. So you do have to shake that out. But nothing's wrong with having a bunch of different ways in which you can play. And at that big position, Horford's older, Porzingis is an injury concern, and Rob's an injury concern. So those guys all effectively back each other up, give each other nights off, or act as insurance for one another. So that's a huge increase in depth. I mean, last year we were talking about Muscala as the emergency center, and now Al Horford and Rob are depth behind Kristaps Porzingis. That's just a 180 overnight.
Yeah. The question is again the durability. You know, it's real. It's a significant problem.
The guy's
But
always hurt.
always hurt. And this is a problem with really tall guys. We were having the Wemby conversation earlier. I'm always really worried of really, really, really tall people. There's just a lot that can go wrong there.
65 games last year in a healthy year,
in a healthy
51
year.
the year before, 43 in 2021, 57 in 2020, and then he tore his ACL and didn't play in 2019.
Yep. So it's exactly that. But I mean, it's intriguing, man. It's really an interesting,
I love his defense. Oh, it's going to be such a nice plus for a team that. I mean, when's the last time this team had a 7-footer? Never mind a 7'3"
I know.
center.
I know. It's so interesting. But let's put it this way. At the very least, at the very least, it's interesting, right? Like, did you want to run it back? Is that what you wanted to do?
No, but this is that plus giving up nothing. I don't want to say nothing. Giving up Brogdon's going to be
Yeah,
real. Should we talk about that angle? What are they losing in Brogdon here?
we could, but first off, I'm going to quickly tell you, and I'll tell you this, Bobby. I'm with you. Total bummer here. But first off, we are going to take a teeny little break for a word from our sponsor. I want to talk about our next partner here on the Garden Report, and that is Athletic Greens. It's a product I started taking literally every day since AG started working with us here at the Garden Report. I use it because I want everything that AG has to offer: better gut health, more energy, optimized immune system. I didn't want to chase a bunch of pills and vitamins. I just wanted to have one supplement that did it all for me, and that's exactly what Athletic Greens does. So what exactly is it? What are you doing when you're taking Athletic Greens or AG1? You are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins and minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens that help you start your day right. It's a special blend of ingredients that supports, as I mentioned, gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, all those good things. So again, get into AG1 right now. It's lifestyle friendly, it's diet friendly, no matter what you're on right now. Paleo, gluten-free, vegan, dairy-free, it really doesn't matter. AG1 fits with your diet. It actually has less than 1 gram of sugar. It's a highly endorsed product, over 7,000 5-star reviews, recommended by professional athletes, trusted by leading health experts, and AG1 is the supplement for you. So again, it's time to reclaim your health, arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That is it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens and us here at the Garden Report are going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/garden. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/garden to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. What'd you think of that?
Loved it.
Full on commercials now.
Yeah, everyone loves those.
Full on commercials. Anyway, thank you. Support Athletic Greens. We should tell you it's not part of that fun thing, but you get one of these if you do fill out the form in the link of the show here for details on how to receive your free t-shirt. Also, merch store coming sooner than you could possibly imagine, and you can buy some of these stuff, including our t-shirts, phenomenal t-shirts, and a phenomenal Bobby bucket hat, which is going to be on the store, so you can check out all of that stuff. You need your bucket hats in the summer,
I need
so
a
check
new
it
one
out.
too. We're doing Summer League in a couple of weeks. I'll need it in time for that.
We are. Your credential has been processed, Bobby, so you are heading out there. That'll be fun. Final thoughts here, Bobby, because again, we have what we have, and we'll stay with CLNS Media. We'll continue, bringing you updates if anything changes here, if and when it's done, and we could talk about it again. But because it was so hot and it was out there, we wanted to just jump out there immediately, get out in front of it, and at least have a conversation and kind of get everybody's thoughts. I feel like most people here, Bobby, are pro.
Yes, I lean in that direction, but I have concerns. I do want to touch on Brogdon too.
Yes, and I think that's fair because he was great, and it is a bummer that he's going to be gone.
Yeah, and I think the biggest reason is money, as you mentioned earlier in the show. But did he make the impact they wanted him to, not only on the court, but off the court? It felt like he finally grew his most vocal in the final weeks of the season. You were starting to hear from him about how things should be and how things should go and defense and blah, 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 blah. So I don't know how well that went over. They seem pretty adamant about moving him out rather than the other guards here, and that includes Peyton Pritchard, who almost seemed inevitable to head out the door this summer. Now, I think we're talking Pritchard extension as that backup guard. Now that Brogdon's not in there. So any Pritchard supporters are excited about this, but it is a step back at that position. Pritchard's going to have to take some real strides this summer to be able to play effectively and consistently there, because the one thing about Brogdon, and I have my gripes with him, defense I didn't love. I don't think the playmaking was as high level as many expected it to be, on and on. But the scoring and shot making, almost every single night he played was astonishing. He was just hitting everything all year long out of that guard spot. And you had to debate every night who you were playing in crunch time. I still don't love that could be a reason that he's heading out the door here. I mean, you should just be able to make those calls on any given night. We'll see how the roster shakes out, though, ultimately, because it doesn't seem like this is done.
A couple other little things. The Porzingis has to opt in by today, right?
Yes.
So
this will happen today.
The reason this is happening is because of that. Well, here's the thing. If he opts in, it's done. That's the point. So the framework of it has to be ironclad by the end of the day.
But if he opts out, it's over. They can't.
If he opts out, it's over. So the assumption is he opts in, and if he does, then it's happening. As far as just picks, the Clippers, as you said, are a little bit short here. They either have to trade number 30 tomorrow or a pick in 2028. That's kind of all they're if they're doing a first.
Well, 30 helps Washington because I don't think they have a second. They just have that, their own lottery first. So that's effectively a late first, second.
Yeah. So, but that's what they would have there, or they take that future pick. I don't know. I assume the Clippers would rather trade 30 than a future.
Right. Definitely.
So
and that's effectively what the Celtics gave up for Brogdon, 29.
Yeah, the 29, which also got traded today.
Yeah. So that's going to Denver.
Celtics, so that makes sense. That makes sense here.
The one thing I will say to cap it off, and there are so many questions here about.
I have another question too for you, but go ahead.
Is he going to be able to play in crunch time against a small lineup?
That's one thing. Another thing is he going to be a dink and really hard for Joe to handle?
Oh, almost definitely. But like I said, is that part of the thinking here? Is you want someone with a little bit more edge and not another guy who's just saying all the right things and smiling and laughing in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be a lot to handle.
He's not that fun, sunny sort of guy. I am a little bit worried, how that vibes with a couple of guys who are like, the Jalen and Jason just kind of like, I'm going to get away from this dude.
Don't you think that's absolutely part of the equation here, is to shake up the dynamic of this room a little bit?
I don't know. I mean, does that guy help? I have no idea,
Well, he's different from all the personalities they have in here.
Hey, who knows? You might end up, whatever. Again, it's hard to judge here because he has had problems in locker rooms. And again, some really disturbing personal allegations. And you hate to just flat out say, but the reality is he settled those allegations. And that's either, you can read into that what you want. You guys can go look it up and do your own research and digging, but it dates back to something that happened while he was in New York, right around the time that he was traded. So, some not so great stuff, and that's definitely going to be part of this conversation, and that stuff is going to come up. It was a bigger deal when he was traded to Dallas initially, right? Did I get it wrong? He didn't go Dallas to New York. He went New York to Dallas.
He went New York to Dallas, to Washington.
Yeah. And then to Washington. And then it hasn't been talked about as much here as he went to Washington, but it's going to resurface again. So,
by the way, I did think
educate yourself on that stuff as you're kind of formulating your opinions here on this deal. It's not great.
Yeah, and I did think that, speaking of Dallas, Luka Kristaps combo was a little awkward. It felt my turn, your turn during those years. Is this going to be a third my turn, your turn guy? We talked about that with Beal. I don't know. The good thing is he's a big, so he can run actions as a big, whether it's the pick and pop or rolling and passing. He's a decent passer, 3 assists per game or so. So you can involve him in some movement here, but the
Yeah, I
ball's
mean,
going to stop a little bit.
part of the urgency to do this, and again, I saw a comment in the in here about moving on, like hold out for a better deal. The problem is that if you liked Kristaps at all, and obviously the Celtics must find him intriguing, um, you really had to make this happen today, which is why it's happening today, because that opt-in has to happen now in order to kind of facilitate a trade. I guess Washington, which means he has to want to do this too. He has to think that this is a good move for him, right?
Definitely. I mean,
He has to like this.
he doesn't want to be back in Washington, and
Yeah.
the only teams with cap space this summer are your
But he could opt
Indianas
out and roll the dice on himself right now. Him opting in means
yeah, but it's Houston, it's Orlando, it's Indiana,
it's
San
hard.
Antonio.
It's hard.
So
It's hard.
those are the kind of teams, and the hard cap's tough if you're doing a sign and trade. So opting in and trading, there's no hard cap here, which is what allows the Celtics to get involved. It's a risk. I don't love it, but I like it and I'm intrigued. So let's see how it goes.
Okay, I like it. I on the basketball sense, I like it. Could a lot of things go wrong? Absolutely, but I still think. Oh, Cass, really? Cass, you're gonna have to rewind, buddy. Porzingis, read it. Read it. Cass is just joining us here. Yeah.
Y'all had me speeding home.
Sorry, Uncle Cass. They fired Brad. Sorry, Cass. I know that that's your guy. No, Brad doing stuff right now. Brad doing stuff. It's a really interesting move. Could be final. We'll have more about it if it is later on today. CLNS, as we said, we just wanted to jump in and kind of give our initial reactions. Dudley, we got all the. You guys, I have not, Dudley. I haven't seen you around that much, my man. I don't know what's going
You
on.
need something like this to have them loop them back
I
in.
know it's Dudley. You going to bed early? You missed all our post games. I don't. Maybe you were some of them. Anyway,
Fans are excited. I mean, the coaching hires were one thing. Everyone was ready to burn down the facility after the East Finals, and then they hired some coaches, and the fans were like, "All right, I'm intrigued." And now this seems like an overwhelming hit among the fans in the chat.
Right now, people like it, but I think they wanted to do something, and I think that whole trade a guard and get something. I think the fear was that it wasn't going to be much in return. I think, as you said, the biggest fear would be like straight up salary thing. So again, you are shedding Brogdon's salary in 2 years. You're trading 2 years for one. So there's a bit of a rental aspect to this move. But I think it's on the court makes more sense. They needed to address other positions on the court. Now they've done it. Gives them some flexibility to do other things.
Are you sad for Rob becoming a bench player?
I'm sad for Al becoming a bench player. Yeah.
Well, Rob, I mean, you were hoping he'd grow into the spot at one point. Maybe that's the year after if Porzingis is gone. But
I don't know why you think Rob is the one to the bench here.
You think if Rob and Porzingis would play together?
I think it's possible.
I think you want Porzingis at center. You don't want him out in the perimeter guarding guys.
I think it's a tough one. It'll be interesting.
You could play Rob at the 4 guarding like a wing, but
it's tougher. It's tougher.
I don't know how that's going to work out. You might start games with Horford at the 4 and move him out and play him limited minutes in the double big alignments. Rob is the bench center, and then you're mostly going small with White out there.
Yeah.
That seems like the most likely way they're going to do it.
Yeah.
This is what people wanted. They want to see Horford move to a 15-minute per game guy, something like that.
Kess reporting from DC. I love it. Load manage the crap out of all of them. Intentionally play them each 60 games. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Just play 2 of them every night.
That's the biggest bonus to this. Is
honestly,
you have 3 reliable guys.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. Like we said, we'll jump back on. Apologies to Kess who's jumping in late. that we are signing off here, but we have to sign off now. But we may come back later if there's more details or this thing gets finalized. Bobby Manning's going to be writing about it, giving his thoughts and covering the story. So check out clnsmedia.com. Thank you guys for hanging out.